Greetings, salutations, buenos dias. This is Robert Phoenix, and this is the Astro Weather. All right, what is going on? What's happening? It is Thursday. We're going to bring the thunder today. That's right. We have a great show lined up for you, and we'll hang out here for a little bit and let the stragglers, stragglers, come on in. I was at the local hardware store yesterday. I got my key made. I had that thing that's bugging me. Get a key made. Get a key made. Get a key made. So I got the key made yesterday. And the thing I love about the local hardware store, it's kind of legendary. You can get anything there. It's called Gibson's. Let me check my mic. That should be better. It's called Gibson's. And there's never a shortage of employees, which I love. It's like there's always somebody there walking around waiting to help you, like the way it should be, the way it used to be during a time in America where those things mattered, right? And a lot of the guys there are older. And I walked up to this guy yesterday. I said, "This is a pretty good gig for you, isn't it?" He says, "Oh, yeah." And he said, "It beats saying hello to people at Walmart, doesn't it?" Sometimes, I don't know, man. I just have to break the fourth wall with people, especially in Texas, because Texans, God bless them, they are amazing in a crisis. Like when this flood hit, these motherfuckers mobilized. Let me tell you, they got into it. See, that's the difference. Texans get into it. It gives them an opportunity to like use their chainsaws and all this stuff that they own. Like they love using it. And a really good disaster is like a play day. I figured this out with Texans. They get into it, like really get into it. Not in an egotistical way, but it allows them to like return to the time where like they were 13 or 14 years old. They were like cutting shit and building shit, and and especially when there's a sense of duress and people's lives are depending upon their ability to respond quickly, respond capably. And they're amazing. Like Texans are amazing in that setting. It's like, whoa, look at you. Like, if you needed to build a new world, you'd probably want to be here because there's a lot of new world builder types here. Really amazing to watch. Outside of that, sometimes they're very formal. They're kind of a very formal people. And I like kind of, I have to say it, I like poking the bear a little bit with the Texans. Not in a bad way. Not in a mean way. Although we went to this wedding this last weekend, and there are certain things that will make me laugh, and sometimes inappropriate settings. And it was this wedding, and the woman who got married, I love her to death, and she knows this. I already. It's not like we talked about it. She called me. I love her to death, and I think her husband is great, and I'm so happy for her and the start of her new life. And when two people find each other and commit to each other, and She's pregnant already, so they're gonna have a kid together. So they're down the track, right? The minister for this wedding was really boring. he was he meant well. He was bringing everything back to the scripture and the Bible, and and this passage about marriage, and it was like very Christian. That's the word I would use, and that's fine. But it was and I'm sorry. I feel like I'm like Roger Ebert at a wedding. It's the Virgo in me. I can't help it sometimes. I'm like, this is not very inspiring. Like, it's good by the book, but it's not very inspiring. And I would tell Joe, and I said, it's not very inspiring. I said, if I was doing this wedding, I'd get these people fired up. I've got this thing going on in my head. And then they have this candle lighting ceremony. And the candle lighting ceremony was each of them had a candle. And then they had a candle in the center. And the candles would be lit. And those would be their individual candles. And then they would put out their candles after saying something. And now they had one candle and one flame that they shared between them. I mean, the symbolism is beautiful. This minister couldn't light the damn candles. I mean, it was getting to the point where it was almost like a Woody Allen movie. It was comical. And the candle that he couldn't light was his candle. I'm like, what's that all about? Looking at it from a symbolic level. Then at a certain point, a cat runs across it was outdoors at this restaurant. They have like a little area where they do weddings and stuff. And this cat ran across the front of the wedding, this little feral cat. I'm like, this is starting to get really kooky, right? Like really kooky, comical. But at the end of the day, it was a beautiful wedding. And I mean, for her and for him, I'm not sure. I'm being tough on this guy. I'm not sure it was really that is. It's the wedding that they wanted. Here's to you, Elizabeth and Ryan, wishing you many, many years of happiness, joy, love, and growth, which isn't always about happiness, joy, and love. Sometimes you hit some black ice every now and then. And that's how you grow together. All right, who's in the house? Well, DJ MC was checking in at 12:18. We got, hey, how do you like the thumbnail today? I love today's thumbnail. Can I just say that? For those of you who have not seen the thumbnail, I want to bring it up here because I think it's a really, really, really cool thumbnail. Let me see if I can find it here. There were others too that I could have done. Some of them were really good. Let's see. Yeah, there it is. I'm gonna bring it in here. Like this could be a poster. This thumbnail. I'm really, this is when, like, this is kind of in some ways a win for AI. Let's see, there it is right there. Let me just burn that, get that out of the way. One more time. Yeah, I really like this thumbnail. It reminds me of Maxfield Parrish. And I love how there's this. If I could have controlled a little bit more, I would have been maybe a little less heavy on the constellated part in the sky. It's kind of bright, but I like the fact that AI kind of went there. I just would have lightened up a little bit on the stars inside the constellation, but I think this really matches, especially with our star. So anyway, there you go. There's the thumbnail. I had others, and they were some of them were worth using. It was kind of tough. Ms. Bataven 2 is here. Regina Poole, and I can only see the chat before the show and during the show. So the chat for some people, if you enable it, will come up during the show or after the show, rather. Diane Evans is here. I have no command over chat real time. So if something happens, unless you get booted out, then it's not. Well, that might be me. Josie's Jazzy Junk. Such celestial tinker toys, playthings of the gods. Those are the constellations. They do look like tinker. That's why I think it's too bright. The lights are too bright. Oh, look at that. Barbara Boots finished the 9th week of doing a 36, 48-hour fast once a week, hoping it helps. Well, here's to your fast. I hope it helps as well. My last bit of coffee. There she is, the lovely and talented one, listening and cleaning. So, Regina, I did put the link to 15 minutes in the show notes. The new next, if only my scorpion elements could eat a hot mermaid. Now, that's it's an interesting kind of thing because a mermaid is a fish, right? I mean, you could eat part of that mermaid, the fish part. Although I'm sure that the mermaid has things that allow it to reproduce, so we could go down that aisle as well. But then it says meat. I think they both are kind of, I don't know, thumbnail appropriate. Meow Meow Kitty Poop, what's up? KZN 185, what's happening, KZN? Let's see. Bill Smith is here. Hi, Bill. Debbie Sue. What's happening, Debbie Sue? Checking in with us from Europa. Lena Winkler, Lisa Ann White. Let's see. Robert, you might get a kick out of the story, occult and tarot aspects, and acid jazz soundtrack or Persona 5 JRPG. Plus, there's a talking cat, Morgana. That game helped my awakening. Okay. Check it out. Thanks, KZN. Green Eyed Crows with us. PB's here. Greetings, PB. Soul Traveler. Janine. Petchanamka. What's happening? You are awesome as well. You are awesome. You're all awesome. High five to your awesomeness. Blood Hair, Jen, what's going on? Heard you wanted to get in contact with me. Great meeting, Jen, in Frisco. Of course, there's Liddy. Liddy, I will call you today. I promise. I have nothing on my schedule except calling you. Maya Rose is here. Hi, Maya. Christine Foos. Definitely lots of water trying action here. We got hail last night. Oh, is this your time of year where you guys get your seasonal dump in a good way? So Josie had a candle lighting ceremony, and there were horse flies. That's like, what do you take? Like, everything is symbolic. As like all these horse flies that show up. I was like, oh my god. I hope you're still married and it worked. Let's see. Sharon Lewis is here. Yeah. I would get fired up for it. I'd get people fired up. In that setting, that's what you need. You need to get fired up. Not for me, but for them, right? I can channel my Jupiter and Sagittarius in the first house. Let's see. It's a good story. You're right, Kelly B. It's like they can tell their kids when they got married, and then the minute this minister guy, he's walking around the party, the reception, and he's got a glass of champagne in his hand, but nobody's talking to him. I felt bad for him. I almost felt like I wanted to go up and talk to him, but I was kind of in a state where I may say something that might be slightly inappropriate. I get in trouble for that sometimes. Mercury retrograde. I know, right? Like that's you're having a little Mercury retrograde moment with those candles. I mean, it was taking so long that it was getting uncomfortable. Okay, it was getting uncomfortable. Bo's here. What's up, Bo? Christina Maria. Let's see who else do we have here. Lisa Ann White, my boyfriend officiates the most beautiful weddings, incorporating native flute and other Native American, something magical. That's awesome. That is a really really good. Like if you're going to do weddings and you can bring in some Native American flute and some John Redcorn, that you kind of want to have that. Looks like a special thing. That's very cool, Lisa. Hi, Mary Grether. Maxfield Parish is beautiful. And when I think of Maxfield Parish, I just think of Tartaria. That's what it feels like. Hanging, setting up for beds for the deer hunters arriving tomorrow. We get those big 5 and 6 pointers. Jackie Delario. Grant's here. What's up, Grant? We need to talk. We got to get back in the phone realm. Spirit Gardener. Okay, we got a Spirit Gardener sighting and a Christine Mose sighting. Looks like I know it's a little too bright. That's the only thing. I'm with you, Bill. It's a little too bright. Talking cat. I'm there. Yeah, there you go. Speaking of talking cats, there's Julie Sunshine 333. We got a big cat mama sighting. Jennifer's here. Hi, Jennifer. Sarah E. Caleb, happy new moon. That's right. We mean to contact you. Love meeting. Hey, Jen was awesome. Great energy. Nicholas Grim in the house. What's up, Nicholas? Sun Tzu. The great Sun Tzu is here. I'm here for the inappropriate. Ratchet Boo, what's happening? With Jupiter and Sag in first, but you get in trouble sometime for what you say. What do you think? Why do you think I have the scant amount of look, the people that it's not always the quantity, it's the quality of the people. But I was going over some of the analytics for the show last night, for the various shows, which they have here on YouTube. I haven't really paid much attention. I had some really interesting insights into the analytics. Every time I do a show with David, I have these huge impressions and triple digit new people. And then there's a statistic for how many of those people returned. And it's amazing, the percentage of returnees from when David's on is relatively low compared to how many people come in and watch. I thought that's really interesting. And I usually capture maybe 1 or 2 new people per show, right? And I've had this weird cycle where I had, for some reason, I had a lot of people unsubscribe. And it was this Sunday night show that I did. It wasn't the Erica Kirk show. It was about Neptune and Aries and Saturn and Aries. And, it was one of those shows where I think I got a little heavy, right? I had a lot of people unsubscribe for that show. It was really interesting. And then I got to see the average view time on the shows. And for the weather, it's 20 minutes. And I understand why people make 20-minute videos now. That's the average view time, is 20 minutes. So I'm thinking, well, if it's 20 minutes, then why am I doing an hour show, right? But then it's like, what 40 minutes do I cut out? You know? So the long form shows, I've cut them down. I try to get them in within 2 hours now, because I think it's reasonable, especially on a Sunday night. People want to go to bed. A lot of people have to work on Monday and get up early, so I've been more cognizant of that, kind of getting into it more. And I think 40 minutes is the average time on a Sunday night show, and that's a 3-hour show. That's not a 2-hour show. I'm like, yeah, that's. I guess some people come in and come back and restart. So I don't know if that is a completely valid metric, but it's like 20 minutes for the weather, 40 minutes for Sunday night. The best performing show that I've had over the last 2 months was the Friday show with Misaki. I had 68 new people, and 30 of those people came back. That's like a retention rate of 50%. That's really good. And like in terms of web shit, right? It's really fascinating watching looking at the statistics, but 96 new, 69 gone. To use 69, it was great while it was great. Christine Mose is here. She's still around. Good to see her. TB about to head to the Walmart to help people with Medicare insurance. Law degrees available on aisle 9. Let's see. Well, it wasn't karmic per se about the cat, but it was something, right? Like and the thing about the cat was it's kind of feral. It wasn't like one of these. I mean, I'm sure if you put some food down, it would come over to you, but that cat didn't belong to anybody. You could tell. And it was kind of dark gray. So it wasn't black. It wasn't like a black cat. But there was something about this cross between being feral and domestic that the cat represented. That's how I saw it. And then apparently, this I did not know, apparently she had a bumblebee buzzing around her head the whole time. And I'm like, oh my God, you're going to be fertile. You're going to have a lot of kids. She's already getting started. She's already pregnant. So she had bumblebee symbolism and the cat. I'm like, and I said, you guys should homestead or something. She said, oh, we so want to do that. We so want to do that. I'm like, okay, good. We're on to something. I found you through one of your joint broadcasts with Misaki. Masaki's a great guest. I love Misaki. He's one of my favorite people. Look at this. Sometimes YouTube gets it right. YouTube algorithm suggested. Stretch that attention span. An hour show, perfect for them. I would agree with you. Dark journalist shows long been informative. Yeah, he's a long form guy for sure. That's a South Node Virgo breakdown. Unfortunately, I got a True Node in Virgo. Yeah, I was trying to go with the flow there, Bill. I was trying to go with the Piscean side of it. It was too much. I can't help myself. I stopped watching Leo King for many years. He was too loud. At one point, I started watching him again because of you. David's changing. David is in I think a really intense growth period in his life. So I can see where that would happen. I'm going to put. I got to say this, and this is no diss to David's people, but I think Bo is 100 on this. yeah, we just have such a unique crowd. You know, it's like we have, you guys are the epitome of being rebels. You're the epitome of being rebels because you're so fucking smart. You're sarcastic, but you have big hearts. Um, you're incredibly eclectic, and you put up with my cynical nonsense. So it's a very, very unique group. And after going through some of these other chats and other groups, you realize just how unique this is. You know, it's a bunch of people who are strikingly individualistic. I've said this before, who like want information, want connection, want community, but they don't want to be led around. You don't want to be led around by with a ring in the nose in your mouth. You can have a ring in the nose in your nose, right? That's fine, but you're not like that. And when we do have these shows together with David, I can point out who's from David's world because they'll tell me to stop talking about something because they're not used to sort of the stream of consciousness or where things are going. And a lot of them have, not all of them, but a lot of them have very prescribed ideas about how things should be. Right. All right, let's get into the weather. Let's get into the weather. Can you feel? I feel the lightness of the Sag moon. I love the Sag moon. It is one of my favorite moons just to hang out on. My spirits are always up. Things are jovial. It's in my first house. You know, the small shit doesn't matter. So, you know, let's have a huzzah for the Sag moon. So today is, well, yesterday started to be the unveiling of some of this Epstein stuff, which I'm going to get into over on 15. A very politically incorrect thumbnail, by the way. But it depends on which side of the politically incorrect you're on. Anyway, some real dirt came out yesterday. Now, a lot of stuff, there's still a lot. Like, even though you have the House and the Senate, or the House rather, coming together and making this petition, there are all these things that the executive branch can do. First of all, Trump does not have to sign that. See, that's the thing. He doesn't have to sign it. They can go through all of this and it can be merely symbolic. Now, that said, even if he does sign it, the executive branch has all these privileges with that material. They can redact, they can do all these things. And it's all part of sort of like protection, and there's a lot of things that are cloaked, you know, through the executive privilege that exists with anything, including the Epstein files. So I think the big revelation, or the bigger revelations, are going to happen around it and not necessarily directly in it. Like this thing with Larry Summers yesterday, and that came through a completely different vector, right? That was big dirt. Like there were these 20,000 Jeffrey Epstein emails that his brother has gotten a hold of, and they're being released. And then there was this big interview by Tina Brown, who used to be the publisher of, what was it? Wasn't Vanity Fair? And I always get her confused with the other Brown, Helen Gurley Brown. It might have been Cosmo. Anyway, Tina Brown, famous publisher, editor in New York. And she did this interview with these Epstein girls. And one of them comes out and talks about the odd nature of Jeffrey Epstein's ding dong. Right? Some people said it looked like an egg. She said it looked like a lemon. So there's that. But then there are these 20,000. One of the emails that came out was an email from Larry Summers to Jeffrey Epstein. Larry Summers is a professor emeritus at Harvard. Larry Summers is the face of the deep fucking state. He will serve under any president. Doesn't matter if they're Democrat or Republican, because Larry Summers' bottom line is stick a dollar sign through the S in Summers, right? That's what he's about. And he was on the board of OpenAI. That's a huge position to be on, because you're going to get all that really cheap OpenAI stock, pennies on the dollar, just to add your name to the company. And there was this email where he was asking Jeffrey Epstein about advice. He was asking him advice about how to seduce his mentee at Harvard. And his mentee was this Chinese woman whose father was an ex-CCP official. Do you think you were ever ex-CCP? Like, are you ever really ex-CIA? Are you ever really ex-Mossad? I don't know about that. The problem, like okay, even in the most liberal world, where people are like, she's not a minor. This happens in universities. Yeah, it happens a lot in universities. It just so happens that Larry Summers is married. He's married to the same woman. And now this comes out, right? He's asking Jeffrey Epstein basically for pickup tips. I swear to God. And Larry Epstein had to resign from the board of OpenAI. He's now on a leave of absence from Harvard. So this new moon, in this brief new moon in Scorpio, like, got one, right? A real deep state character. Not a good person based on how we would value people, right? Like, good, we got one. Like a we spearfish fucking Larry Summers, right? So today's a day with this moon in Sag, and coming in as we move through the day and parts of tomorrow. Today is going to be interesting, because they Thursday is the last like vital news day. They will dump news stories on Friday to bury them over the weekend. So Friday is usually okay. We'll put this out, and hopefully people will be too into college football. They'll just be too into A&M versus UT this weekend. Big game, A&M UT, especially around these parts. I was at the local diner. I like to go there once a week just to renew my membership with the locals. And it's always fascinating to see who's in there. And there's this guy and his wife, and they were wearing Texas A&M shirts, and he was wearing a jersey, and it said Crow on the back. And it's like, that's a reference to John David Crow, who used to play at Texas A&M a very long time ago. And there was all this A&M and UT talk going on. Boy, you want to see Texans come alive, just talk about A&M or UT football. Man, all their Texan reserve melts away pretty quickly. Anyway, so I went there yesterday, and it was good. And the food is good too. I don't mind, I don't mind kicking out how much it costs just to go there. It reconnects me with humanity. But I did have one of those inappropriate Jupiter and Sag moments, because there was this woman who was there, and she was paying, and she didn't look like anybody from Kerrville. She looked like she just, she was older. She was like, maybe close to my age, maybe a little bit younger, but she looked like she stepped off the set of Laugh-In. You remember Laugh-In and Goldie Hawn, and they wore the big boots and the paisley skirts and all that shit, right? She looked that way, and I looked at her and I said, "Oh, you look very mod today," because that's how she looked, and she didn't quite know how to take it. And I said, like, she thought I was picking up on her or something, and I really wasn't. And it was like, "Oh, so you live in Kerrville?" She said, "Yes." I said, "Well, keep up the look. This place needs it." because it was really very out of place, not in a bad way. She's probably thinking, "Where's this going? Where's this going? Where's this guy going with this?" I fucking love poking the fourth wall. Anyway, today is a day. Like yesterday, the dirt started to come out. Here come the proclamations. Now you're going to get people on the Epstein, sort of the perp side. They're going to come out with guns blazing. Trump may be one of them, although I think Trump has played this probably about as good as he can play it, because it took him some time to, I think, not only just clean his shit up, because I think his shit is in there. And I'm not a Trump hater. I think he's interesting, but I'm also not a cult follower. But not just Trump, but like other Republicans and donors. Like there's a name in there that Thomas Massey knew. He was a big donor, and he knew about it. And so Massey was sort of broadcasting this. He's funny, by the way. Thomas, you can tell a person's intelligence by their sense of humor. So Donald Trump must be intelligent because he is really funny at times. So this moon in Sagittarius is going to be really interesting, especially conjuncting with Mars. And you're going to get people who are going to, be beating their chests and saying, this is wrong, and I wasn't there, and you redacted this, and you changed that, and it's like it's going to be the Spider-Man meme. Who's zooming who? You're going to see there will be no lack of color today. No lack of color whatsoever. And a lot of heavy protestation. The phrase, "thou doth protest too much," I think would be appropriate for today. But I would say, by and large, these are good vibes. This is good vibes today. The sun is at the 28th degree, which means it's on my ascendant. And the Sabian symbol for that is the king of the fairies returns home, right? And it's this magical Sabian symbol, although I think Dane Rudyard doesn't give it enough shine. I think there's more shine to be sort of polished off with that Sabian symbol, the king of the fairies. So today is like an elemental day. It's a magical day, right? It is a day where, and maybe I don't know, maybe unconsciously that's why I went with the mermaid, for today's show. Like I didn't really, now that I look at that degree of Scorpio, it's like, yeah, I could kind of see this. It's a very elemental kind of character. So, even though it's not spring, put a little spring in your step today and be open. Here's my prescription for today. Be open to magic. People say, well, I talk about politics too much. It's because we live in a political time, and there's all this, wrist wrestling for control and domination of the planet, right? Oh, by the way, let me just throw this in here. You have to watch this interview with Tucker Carlson and Nikki Haley's kid. Holy shit. I was so impressed. I'm going to play some of that on 15. I was so impressed with Nikki Haley's son because he is not like neocon Nikki at all. He is full on like Nick Fuentes Gen Z. And these Gen Z kids, man, they blow my fucking mind. They blow my mind. They're so like fearless, and they're clear on their philosophical approach. It's that Pluto and Sag, man. Like, and they have the Neptune and Uranus and Aquarius, from 96 to 2003 with Uranus and Aquarius, and then from 2003 to 2010, Uranus in Pisces. But that group's a little odd. I should know this. My son is one of them. But thank God he's found his groove as a bartender. I love it. What does your son do? He's a bartender. I take great pride. The Irish in me takes great pride in that. Anyway, today is a magical day. right? It's that 28th degree. The king of the fairies comes home, returns home. And when he returns home, the fairies are going to be there. There's gonna be a fire, and the fairies are going to be dancing around the fire, doing their fairy dances, and the king comes, and they have a cup of hot grog for him because he's back. And then the fairies like do all their fairy magic, and they sprinkle dust on him, right? And he takes out that long Lord of the Rings pipe, and it's good to be the fairy king. So today is a magical day. Put a little magic in your sprinkle some of that dust, that magic dust out there. Sprinkle some of that. And you got March. So, boy, today's going to get passionate. It's going to get heated. But it's one of those days. It's a new moon in Sag, right? Live life with some gusto, brio, as they say. This was always my favorite time of year. This is when Jupiter would get unlocked in my chart. And from right around this time of year until, like Christmas, I was in a good mood. And my mood was going to get better as the day and especially as the night wore on. Yes, indeed. There was a lot of celebratory cheer in the air. Let's put it that way. Today's good vibes, Grand Trine, water. There's not a lot of objectivity. We've got a limited amount of air. Yeah, Pluto, and then you have Pallas. So it's like find something to just get in the flow and go with it. I did it yesterday. It was good. I'm going to do more of it today. Just find that flow, whatever it is. It's like water finding its own level. Find that rivulet and get into that rivulet and go with that rivulet. And put a little spring in your step. Fuck the world for a day, maybe two. Fuck it. Fuck them. Right? You define your own reality for the most part. And you have an opportunity with this new moon because you're setting the tone, right? You're setting the tone for the next 30 days. And the moon in Sagittarius likes to have a good time, but it also doesn't take things seriously. And Sagittarius can be very, very sarcastic. Like a lot of comedians. Some of my favorite comedians are Sagittarians. Like Bill Hicks was a Sagittarian. Sam, what's his name? The crazy guy. He was a Sagittarian. Although I wasn't really crazy. I wasn't really down with his humor that much, though. Like I wanted to like him more. He was wild. There's also some other Sag comics who are really Richie Pryor, Sagittarius, right? So this is we're entering into that season. And for basically 30 days, right? It's the IDGAF. I don't give a fuck. And we all get to play along with it. And I've loved Scorpio season this year. I've loved it. I've loved doing the thumbnails. It's interesting. I was looking at the stats, and my Star Trek ladies did not perform very well. I don't know why. I thought that was kind of a cool theme. But I've really enjoyed getting into the kind of monochromatic and dark underbelly of Scorpio. By the way, Josie, message shout out to you. I've got all these Raven and Crow videos now showing up in my feed where dudes are like having these conversations. I want a Raven. I want a pet Raven. Where can I get a pet Raven? I need to go to like some kind of a animal rescue thing. I want a pet Raven because they're cool. They'll talk to you. They'll mock you. Like I'm down with having a pet Raven or a pet crow. The thing with crows, though, you need two of them. That they're made for life. Anyway, find the flow. Go with the flow. Don't take things so serious today. As our friends across the pond say, take a piss out of it. That's my prescription for the weekend. Take the piss out of it. Enjoy yourself. All right, let's get into our star of the day. Fascinating star of the day. Fascinating star. And I have to say, at a certain point in time, Maybe not as much of a crush as Ofra Haza, but she's definitely in crush territory. And today's star of the day is Mary Sean Young. And we're going to get into this chart. She was a handful, to put it mildly. But let me talk about True Hemp Science first. While I have 3 minutes of your time, let me bring your attention to True Hemp Science and truehempscience.com. There's a bottle of Illumina. Right now, Chris has a new customer 20% off sale. You're a new customer. You go in, you're going to get 20% off your order. That's significant. You could save upwards of, depending on what you get, $20 to $40. You type in 15MINS and you will get the goodie bag as well. So you'll get stuff on top of your stuff, which is really great. And, local businesses just need our help. I mean, you may not live in Texas, but here in the United States, Chris ships all over the place. And $150 more gets you free shipping. But you're helping keep a brick and mortar afloat and employ people. And, I have a fiduciary relationship with him, but I wouldn't have it unless the product life. Right. So truehempscience.com. Go get that first time buyer discount. Type in 15MINS. Get the goodie bag on top of it. If you happen to talk to somebody, because you can't make an appointment there, tell them Robert sent you. All right, let's get into Sean Young. Now, if I was playing the role of a teacher and you were my student, and there was a time where I was cranking out students. I may do that again with Jupiter. When Jupiter goes into Leo, my 9th house, I may have a very educational push. Let's put it that way. I would ask my student, well, what do you notice about this chart? And I'd get some answers. And if they were good and they were paying attention, they would notice that she's got nothing below the horizon except for Chiron. I mean, nothing. And she has some Earth. She's got Saturn in Capricorn, Pluto in Virgo, right? She's born 1959, Generation Jones, not a boomer. And she's like really top heavy. Like she's like out there, right? She's totally out there. It's all about Sean and her career. True node in Libra. So she's going to be beautiful, right? True node in the 8th house. She's also going to have like weird intrigue around her. And I wish I could have been her astrologer therapist, because she was in battle mode too many times, right? And you get that with Mars on the midheaven in Scorpio. It's like Ofra Haza's chart a little bit. In different years, 56, 59, but Mars on the midheaven in Scorpio. So she's going to attack her work. I mean, she was very intense on these movie sets, maybe too intense, right? But she needed to find a way to get along with people. I mean, that was her true node in Libra, and not get along and go to bed with them. And she had this weird thing with James Woods, which kind of ruined her career. And in a lot of ways, James Woods played the role with his, at that time, his fiance, as a gaslighter. They were gaslighting Sean Young, and he sued her for harassment. And they went to trial, and James Woods settled out of court, and Sean Young won. And James Woods had to pay for all of her legal fees. That's not insignificant to hire, a Hollywood lawyer. But the damage had been done, and she was not somebody who was easy to get along with on the set, right? She's got a Sun, Mars, Juno conjunction. I mean, this is a woman who like oozed sexuality. But a lot of her planets, especially like Jupiter and Mercury, they're squaring Pluto. She's like intense, and her intensity comes through. Even her sun, her late degree Scorpio sun, squares Pluto. And the other thing too is, like, I was looking at her Black Moon Lilith. Other women hated her. Like, this is how Black Moon Lilith works. If you haven't been around for the Black Moon Lilith lesson, for women, it's different than men. For women, it's projection from other women. For men, it is the shadow of the relationship with their mother. Now, that doesn't mean that there isn't some Black Moon Lilith in, or the mother in Black Moon Lilith for women, but it's not the same. Now, Sean Young's mother was a casting agent. Hello, Black Moon Lilith in Gemini in the fifth house, performance. So there was always sort of this kind of, background that she was a bit of a Nepo kid, right? But she worked incredibly hard. And one of the early movies that she took off in was Stripes. And she hated Bill Murray, right? And Bill Murray, because Bill Murray and John Candy were allowed to, they were allowed to improvise, right? I think Ivan Reitman, who was the director, who was no, Harold Ramis was in it. But Ivan Reitman was the director. He let John Candy and Bill Murray improvise. That's like giving a firearm to an 8-year-old. And she is all about the script, and she couldn't stand Bill Murray. Now, Harold Ramis, and she played Harold Ramis's love interest. She loved him. She adored him. And Harold Ramis, his birthday is right after Sean Young, so they had a sun-sun conjunction. She couldn't stand Harrison Ford. And Harrison Ford had a love scene with her. And in Blade Runner, on the set, they called it the hate scene because there was so much venom between the two of them. And Harrison Ford roughed her up. Like, he's like, I'm gonna rough this bitch up in this love scene, right? And I think for Sean Young, Saturn, in the 12th house, it means a lot. Like, her being, like, she just never fit in, right? She never fit in. Like, when she was in high school, she was kind of a loner. She had that Saturn 12, and she's battled with alcoholism for a lot of her life, I think. She did get married. She married the actor Robert Lujan, and I think they had a couple of kids together. Not sure they're still together, though. Moon in Cancer, she just wanted to be domesticated. She wanted somebody to understand her, right? And if you got her, like, she'd probably be incredibly magical with that moon trying to Mars, the moon trying to the sun. Like, she could fulfill your fantasies. But if you didn't get her and you went to war with her, she was a hellion. And she was on a roll there for a while. She, like, Dune, she was in Dune. But the thing about Blade Runner, and by the way, there's something I wanted to do here. The thing about Blade Runner is that it came out when it came out. Hold on a second. When it came out the same week as E.T. And the critics and the public were not into Blade Runner. Like, it was a bomb when it first came out. Okay, so there's something interesting here. There's a factoid that I'm going to get into in a second. So Blade Runner was like not making it. And the studio was like sitting on a major loss. But then something happened. It took off in Japan. And the Japanese went nuts for Blade Runner. And she started to get all this fan mail from Japan, which is very ninth housey, right? With Neptune there and Vesta. Like, if that film doesn't take off overseas, who knows what happens to her in her career. So they reinvest in the movie again and do a second run. And once they do a second run, it blows up. It had to get out of the exhaust fumes of ET. And I remember seeing Blade Runner when it came out. I was just fucking blown away. It was at the local theater around the corner from my house. And you just take things for granted back in the day. Oh yeah, we've got this shopping center, and we have this great grocery store there, and there's this great Chinese place with takeaway. Oh, and they have this stuff called Hunan, Szechuan food. I've never had it before. And it was like perfect. And there was this movie theater that played really good movies. It wasn't an art house theater, but it took risks on movies. And I'm like, this is all around the corner from where I lived in Foster City. Like I could walk to this place. And when you're young, you just don't realize, you just think that this is how life is always going to be. Anyway, so that it takes off and she takes off. And she has this moment where Ridley Scott was supposed to direct Dune, and he couldn't do it. I think he had a conflict with, I think it might have been Blade Runner, but he was supposed to direct Dune, and Dune got shelved. And he had cast her, like she was difficult, but she was a pro. Like she learned her lines. She really got into her character. And so he cast her for Dune. But then she gets lost in the shuffle in the whole Dune thing because they have a change of directors. Now, this is where Neptune comes in. She happens to be on a flight from New York to Los Angeles with David Lynch and the casting director of Dune. And somehow they find each other. And they fucking hit it off, right? Like David Lynch, he's an oddball. He's an Aquarian. She's got Chiron in Aquarius. He gets her, right? You're good. You're in. They're drinking bottles of champagne as they're flying across country. Sean Young gets the role in Dune. She's on a bit of a roll, right? She gets into the movie No Way Out, and her sex scenes with Kevin Costner are fucking steamy, right? Like when they're in the limo together, like those two were feeling it. It's like, whoa, this is a little real, right? And she has Mars, her Mars on her midheaven really came through. And that Juno, it's like, wow. Anyway, the story, the anecdote, is that Philip K. Dick did not live long enough to see a complete version of Dune, which is based on his short story, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? But he was seeing some of these dailies. So he was seeing parts of the movie being filmed. He didn't see the movie in its entirety. He lost it for Sean Young. He totally lost it. Like, let me see if I can find the quote here. It was like Sean Young became this muse, and he never met her. He just saw her on the screen, and let's see. I want to see this. Can I get in here? See this? I'm going to read you this. This is from Phil K. Dick. It's about Sean Young. Dear Jeff, I happened to see the Channel 7 TV program, Hooray for Hollywood tonight, with the segment on Blade Runner. Well, to be honest, I didn't happen to see it. Someone tipped me off that Blade Runner was going to be a part of the show. And to be sure to watch, Jeff, after looking and especially after listening to Harrison Ford discuss the film, I came to the conclusion that this indeed is not science fiction. It is not fantasy. It is exactly what Harrison said, futurism. The impact of Blade Runner is simply going to be overwhelming, both on the public and on creative people, and I believe on science fiction as a field. Since I've been writing and selling science fiction works for 30 years, this is a matter of some importance to me. In all candor, I must say that our field has gradually and steadily been deteriorating for the last few years. Nothing that we have done individually or collectively matches Blade Runner. This is not escapism, it is super realism, so gritty and detailed and authentic and goddamn convincing that, well, really, after the segment, I found my normal present day reality pallid by comparison. What I am saying is that all of you here, I'll show this, share this tab, I'll show this to you. This is the letter, right? I think Blade Runner is going to revolutionize our conceptions, what science fiction is, and more. Let me sum it up in this way. Science fiction has slowly inbred has become derivative and stale, settled into a monotonous death. So he's really, really into Blade Runner. God, where is the Sean Young quote? Sean Young, we're running a little bit over, became his muse. Let me see if I can find this. He basically said that he wanted Sean Young to destroy him because she represented something in his psyche that he had never seen before. He said he felt that Young captured the essence of the character of Rachel. That is not a simulation of Rachel. That is Rachel. He'd never seen Sean Young. I've never seen her act. I've seen Rutger Hauer. I've seen Harrison Ford act. But when I saw those stills of her, I was blown away. Dick saw her as the femme fatale, belle dame sans merci that I eternally write about. Like, she became his fucking muse. And he didn't even know her, right? So in the chart, this is really interesting. Let me go back here, and we got to get out of here. But in the chart, this is like freaking how astrology works. She's got Ceres in Sagittarius at 22 degrees, right? Philip K. Dick's Sagittarian sun is at 24 degrees. It is right on her Ceres, right? And that's nurturing. It's like nurturing this expansive internal dimension and a lot of projection on Philip K. Dick's part. Don't get me wrong. But there is something there with his son being at 24 and right, bang on that Ceres. He got her in a very, very big way. Really, really big way. He's got a bunch of Sag in his chart. His Mercury and Saturn at 23 and 21, guess what? Also on her Ceres. So Dick Stellium, that'd be a good name for a band, Dick Stellium. All three of those planets were right there on her Ceres. He got her. There was the femme fatale. Like, this would be the woman that he was looking for all of his life to destroy him. He had this deeply romantic association with Sean Young. And then he dies. Like, he sees her, and in some way, in a weird way, right? Like, he has this moment where Sean Young literally becomes this woman that he had created and imagined. Can you imagine that? Being a writer and writing this book and then having it adapted to a script and a movie, and here's this woman, and she's exactly how you saw her. She's come to life, right? It's almost like being God. And it's not long after that Philip K. Dick passes away. And and in some ways, Sean Young did destroy him. Like, he was gone. He never saw Blade Runner in its totality. He must have been excited as hell. Right? You can tell by that letter he was. Anyway, there's your True Hemp Science star of the day, Sean Young. All right, got to go hit 15. See you guys over there. Thanks for being here. Use your head in order to discern what's really your heart, say what's possible. Take care. Love you all. Bye for now.